This is not a ship. It's a $3 billion tool. Built to do what physics said was impossible. To tear an oil platform off the ocean floor. 48,000 tons of steel in 10 seconds. To put the size in perspective, the world's largest aircraft carrier fits right beside it, and there's still room to spare. That gap in the center of the ship is 400 feet wide. You could park the Titanic inside it with room on both sides. It weighs 440,000 tons empty. At full load, it reaches nearly 1 million, 9 times the weight of a nuclear aircraft carrier. 571 people live and work inside it. Engineers, welders, underwater drone pilots. A city operating in the middle of the ocean. The North Sea is throwing 13-foot waves against it, and it doesn't even flinch. How do you keep 440,000 tons of steel perfectly still while the ocean tries to destroy you? The answer involved precision physics, 80,000 gallons of hydraulic fluid, and a 10-second window where any mistake meant the end of everything. The North Sea is home to hundreds of oil platforms. Some have been operating for over 50 years. They don't last forever. When the well runs dry, the platform has to come out. Every last piece of it. It's an international legal requirement. The traditional method took years. You bring in a fleet of crane vessels, cut the platform into smaller sections, hoisting one block at a time. Every single day of operation in the North Sea costs a fortune. The longer it takes, the greater the risk of accidents, storms, structural collapse. And the problem keeps growing. In the North Sea alone, over 600 structures will need to be removed by 2040. The industry was desperate for a better solution. It was a Dutch company called Allseas that decided to tackle the problem head-on. The idea was radical. Instead of cutting the platform apart, lift it whole. In one go. A single vessel capable of arriving, wrapping around the platform and pulling it off the ocean floor, like pulling a tooth. To build something like this, Allseas took 2 supertanker hulls and joined them together. It wasn't the most elegant solution, but it was the only way to get the width they needed. Construction took years and cost $3 billion. For reference, during the same period, the entire United States built fewer commercial deep-sea vessels of comparable scale. In 2016, it touched water for the first time, and the offshore engineering world stopped to watch what it could do. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the time. Every week, there's a story like this one, engineering pushed to the absolute limit. Subscribe and hit the bell. But building the world's largest lift vessel was the easy part. The real problem was physics. The platform is anchored to the ocean floor. It doesn't move. The ship, on the other hand, is sitting on the ocean, and the ocean never holds still. Imagine the ship rises 1 foot on a wave while its arms are already locked onto the platform. It doesn't lift the platform. It slams into it like a 440,000-ton sledgehammer. The result would be a catastrophic collision. The platform could topple onto the ship's deck. Both would go to the bottom together. This was the central problem Allseas engineers had to solve before anything else. Not the weight, the motion. The solution was a hydropneumatic system. Instead of rigid cables, the lift arms work like giant shock absorbers, soaking up every movement of the ship before it ever reaches the platform. Inside the ship are banks of nitrogen accumulators. They work like a colossal pneumatic spring, absorbing energy as the ship drops, releasing it as the ship rises. At the same time, laser sensors measure the distance between the ship and the platform 10 times every second. Any positional deviation above 4 inches, and the system reacts before the operator even notices. Below the hull, 12 thrusters rotate 360 degrees non-stop. Not to move the ship, but to hold it exactly where it is, against currents that are constantly trying to push it away. A 440,000-ton vessel held in place with a margin of error smaller than the width of an open laptop. That has a name: Dynamic Positioning Class 3, the pinnacle of nautical precision. To make all of this work, 80,000 gallons of hydraulic fluid flow through the lift system, the volume of an Olympic swimming pool under constant pressure. And here's the detail no one talks about. If a single seal fails during the lift, the pressure is so extreme that the fluid turns into a jet capable of cutting through steel. That's why the lift window is so tight. The system loads pressure, waits for the exact moment, and fires. To understand the physics behind giants like the pioneering Spirit, DK's visual guide, how technology works is what every engineering enthusiast should have on their shelf. Hydraulic systems, propulsion, structures, all explained with cutaway illustrations that reveal what the eye can't see. The link is in the description. If you want to go further and understand in practice how hydraulic and articulation systems work, LEGO Technic replicates exactly this kind of mechanics at workbench scale. The link is also in the description. All of this engineering exists to solve one single problem: get to the platform, lock the arms, and wait for exactly the right moment. There are 16 hydraulic arms, 8 on each side. Each one weighs more than a fully loaded Boeing 747. When they lock onto the platform, the entire system becomes a single rigid body. At the right moment, in the trough between two waves, the system releases everything. The nitrogen accumulators push the arms upward with enough force to separate the platform from its legs in under 10 seconds. In that instant, the platform is free, suspended between sky and sea, touching nothing. And the ship is already moving away, because the next wave is coming, and there can be no second contact between the platform and the legs left behind. 10 seconds of operation, 2 years of planning. That's the true cost of making the impossible look easy. 2017, North Sea. 115 miles from the nearest coastline, there was a platform called Brent Delta. 40 years of service, corroded structure, uncertain integrity. Shell needed it gone. In one piece, the top side, the upper section of the platform, weighed 26,700 tons, the equivalent of a 15-story building floating above the ocean. The pioneering Spirit left port with years of planning stored inside its onboard computers. Every inch of the approach had been calculated in advance. The docking maneuver, the slot-in, required the ship to position its central gap around the platform's legs with less than 16 feet of clearance on either side. In the control room, no one spoke unless they had to. The thrusters made constant micro-adjustments. The ship was entering a steel trap on purpose. The arms extend. They travel along the rails to the anchor points and lock. At that moment, the ship and the platform became one single thing. Months earlier, underwater robots had pre-cut the legs. All that remained were temporary steel bridges, the last connection between the platform and the ocean floor. The system was reading the ocean, waiting for the instant of least movement between one wave and the next. The window lasted only a few seconds. Fire. The accumulators released everything at once. In under 15 seconds, 26,700 tons of steel were torn from the ocean. For the first time in 40 years, the Brent Delta was in the air. And the ship was already leaving, because the next wave couldn't find them in the same place. With 26,700 tons on its back, the ship sailed back to the port of Hartlepool at 10 knots, as if nothing had happened. That day, The pioneering spirit broke the world record for the heaviest lift ever performed at sea, a record that had belonged to cranes. Now it belonged to a ship. The conventional method would have taken 2 years to remove the Brent Delta. The pioneering spirit did the lift in 15 seconds. The preparation took months. The act itself took less time than it took me to say this sentence. When it's not pulling platforms off the ocean, the pioneering spirit becomes something else entirely. A factory. Inside the hull, welding robots join steel pipes in a continuous sequence, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those pipes travel down through the stinger and follow the curve to the ocean floor. At depths of 6,600 feet, the equivalent of 7 Eiffel Towers stacked underwater. That's how the pioneering spirit laid part of Turkstream, a pipeline that crosses the Black Sea for over 560 miles. On its best day of operation, it laid nearly 4 miles of pipeline in 24 hours. That's like building a road from a mountaintop to its base on the ocean floor in a single day. One ship, 2 completely different functions. In both, it operates at a level no other vessel in the world can match. $3 billion, 571 crew members, 80,000 gallons of hydraulic fluid under constant pressure. All of it operated by human beings who have to make the right call inside the window physics allows. The pioneering spirit is not the biggest ship in the world. It's not the fastest. It's not the most famous. It's the most capable. And in the world of offshore engineering, that's the only thing that matters. 15 seconds that took years to happen. That's the pioneering spirit. If this kind of engineering moves you, there's a lot more waiting on the channel. Subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you in the next one.